Hey guys, it's Aaron from Imperfect Impulses. Sorry it's been a while since I've done my last video. Life's gotten in the way. My kids had lots of events, swimming and karate, and I've had trips back east for work, and so lots of stuff getting in the way. But I promised I would do a new video soon, and today I am going to do a video on black gesso. There's not a whole heck of a lot out there about black gesso and how to use it, and one of my friends discovered a really cool way to do an almost neon-like technique using black gesso. So let's get into the technique part of the video, and I hope you like it. Alright, so here we are. We have a completely gessoed spread, and just so you guys know, I am using a little notebook. This came in a 3-pack. It was from a friend of mine. She bought this 3-pack of notebooks from Target, and it was just a lined paper notebook. And gessoed, it works perfectly as an art journal. I've done a few pages in it so far, just done a couple backgrounds. A lot of these were travel pages. When I was back east, I did this for my wife just to let her know that I was thinking of her and I missed her. And it was with ink tints and some watercolors, some acrylic paints, and some, I think actually that's all acrylic paints. So anyways, this is kind of my little side travel journal. At any rate, this is my faux black gesso that if you follow my blog, you'll know that I had tried this technique using black gesso. This is white gesso mixed with black acrylic paint. So this is the faux black gesso. This is the complete black gesso. So you can see that there is a big difference. This is almost a charcoal gray. This is dark, dark, dark black. So this is black gesso, and it is Liquitex black gesso. I got it at Michael's on coupon, of course, because God forbid we have to pay full price. Now, the technique I'm going to show you is going to show up a little bit like neon. Hopefully it shows up on camera because it's a really cool technique. This stencil I am using is a stencil I made on my Cricut, and I will probably end up doing a tutorial on how to make your own stencils, because when I went out to look and find tutorials on stencil making, they did not produce what I was looking for. So, give me 1 second. I will be right back, because I've got to find my white gesso. Hold on. And mere seconds later, he's back. So, I am using white gesso, and the brand is Artist Loft, and I'm using a Recollections container, which is not meant for gesso, but it's worked fine up until now. I had a class recently, and I think the students let the edges get a little bit goopy, and that's fine because I was teaching them, and it's all good. So, at any rate, we are now going to smear some white gesso through the stencil. Now, this stencil is sticky on the back. It's got an adhesive, repositionable adhesive. It may pull off some of the black gesso. We shall see. Hopefully it does not. But the nice thing about having adhesive on your stencils is that you don't really get a lot of that leakage underneath. I find a lot when I use stencils, I get a ton of leakage, so I don't get a really crisp and clear image. I'm going to shut up now so I can fast forward through this part and you can see the finished product. Alright, now we have a fairly dry gessoed stencil. So, what do we do with it? Well, there are a couple things you can do with it. First of all, we can use products like Dylusions Ink Sprays. Lindy's Stamp Gang sprays would work with this. technique. I don't have any, so I can't show you how that would work, but I really want some. Hint to my wife sitting behind me. Let's see, what else would work? Of course, one of my favorites, Distress Inks. Sorry, my Distress Inks are a little bit of a mess. They stack on top of each other, so they end up getting kind of skanky. But so I'm going to use a couple products just so you can see how this works. I'll be using the Dylusions Ink Sprays and Distress Inks just to give you kind of a background or an idea of how to create this background. So with the Dylusions Ink Sprays, you just spray them right on, anywhere you want. I love the Dylusions because they blend beautifully. They create new colors when they do blend. And they're just sexy. Oops, sorry. Yes, I said sexy. My wife is mumbling in the background if you could hear her. She says that a lot about what things I say. So, I have a jumbled mess. Now, I need a kitchen roll, so I'll be right back. And I'm just going to blot up some of that excess. Normally I would use another page in my book to pick that up, but since I'm doing this on camera, I figured I would just blot it up. So as you can see, you get this really cool bright color against the really stark black background, which I love, the little bitty pieces. Pouncer for my Distress Inks.
How do you go back?
Where? Okay. So now on this side we'll use Distress Inks in similar colors. We're going to use these from the summer line. This is the Picked Raspberry. Put a little bit of that up here. The more you use with the Distress Inks, the brighter the color you're going to get. One spray of the Dylusions is going to give you that color, whereas a couple applications of the Distress Ink is going to give you that. And let's see, I was going to use Dusty Concord, but I think I'm going to grab if I can find it, Seedless Preserves, which is from the fall collection. And just smear a little bit on right there. A little bit haphazardly. And then I think a good blue to match that would be probably a little bit of the Peacock Feathers, which is also from the summer collection. And as you can see, they blend beautifully with the Dylusions to create new colors. A little bit down here. A little bit on that flower. And then, let's see, to mirror some of the fresh lime. And just so you know, the colors that I used in the Dylusions were Bubblegum Pink, Vibrant Turquoise, Crushed Grape, Fresh Lime, and London Blue. And so far the alternating colors in the Distress Ink: Picked Raspberry, Seedless Preserves, Peacock Feathers, and now I have to find something to go along with that green. I'm thinking Crushed Olive is one of my favorites, so why not use it? Even if it doesn't work, I can add over the top of this. Let me make sure I'm still on frame, slightly off frame, sorry about that. So a little bit of a Crushed Olive. Ooh. So just blending a little bit down there. We're going to add a little bit more green down here. Maybe a little bit to this edge. Now, as you can see, everywhere we're adding this product, it does not show up on the black gesso, and that's because these are water-based. They're they're not going to show up. Acrylic paints will show up on top of the black gesso, so this technique will not work with acrylic paints or anything else that would show up that's opaque. So you'd want to use something that's water-based that is translucent. And let's see, for that final color, I think we need a good blue. And since we've used a lot of the seasonal colors, might as well stick to that trend and go with the Salty Ocean from the summer collection. So, there you have a very cool, almost neon type look on a journal page background. This is a great starter page. You can always go through with a paper towel and wipe up the excess that may be resting on top of that black gesso. So this is a very good starter page for a background. You can always go in with either some more black gesso randomly or some white gesso. Now, just a little piece of advice, because we are using water-based products on top of gesso, they are really just drying and sitting on top of the gesso. So if you do not want them to smear when you go to add gesso on top of it, or for the gesso to blend with the colors, you'll want to add a layer of fixative. Some of the fixatives that I usually use are, I usually use the Krylon UV resistant clear. You can also use a, let's see, I thought I had some workable fixative, but I don't. So you can just throw a little bit of this UV resistant clear right over the top. That'll seal the colors on, and then go over the top again with clear gesso. And you can essentially start, as that's your background, you can then go with white gesso in random places, use more stencils, create backgrounds. Another very cool technique to use while you've got it in this phase is stamping. And you do not want to use an archival stamp an archival stamp pad, ink pad, because it's going to show up on your black gesso, at least a little bit. So I am going to use a new stamp set I just got. It's falling all over the place. This is from Recollections. It's one of their Halloween set. It's got this really cool nature text stamp, and it kind of fades in and out. And I'm going to use some Black Soot Distress Ink and just randomly go in and add some text to those flowers. Now you don't have to do this in black. You can do this in, just a darker color that would show up on any of these. And again, because you're using Distress Ink, which is a water-based ink, it's going to sit on top of that white gesso, but it won't really show up on the black gesso, which is very, very nice. And if you've never used your cling mount stamps in your hand, you have to try that, because it's so cool. You get all these different faded textures and different looks all from one stamp. So let's see, we need a little bit more up here. Alright, let's give that a quick dry. I apologize, I keep going off camera. Let's zoom in and see if you can't see some of the detail in this. So these are our very vibrant background stamped flowers, or stenciled flowers really, with stamped text in them. And there's just no way of getting that without using that super awesome black gesso. At Michael's, the only brand that they have is Liquitex, and it's very expensive. It's like $14 for a very small bottle. I think it's, let's see, 8 ounces. I'm used to paying $15 for 64 ounces of the Artist Loft white acrylic gesso. So, I'm going to use this very sparingly, but it is very, very cool. And I guess while we're here, let's play with some other techniques. I happen to have a bar of beeswax. I don't know if you can see that it says beeswax. Sorry. At any rate, it's beeswax. So, let's try melting it and see what happens. You can do a couple different things with beeswax. You can either rub the beeswax right on your craft iron and rub it on, or you can use a good pair of scissors or a not so good pair of scissors, as the case may be, and really just kind of flake it off onto your page. This will also act as a sealant for those water-based colors, so you don't have to worry about them running again when you add things on top. So now hopefully you can see how that gives it a really cool sheen. You can work with this as your background. Start with this. Just remember, anytime you add heat or you use your heat gun, it's going to remelt that beeswax. So you may want to add a layer of gesso over the top, but it's really going to kill the effect that the beeswax gives. But it almost looks like the flowers have been embedded into the page now, as opposed to being something that's been stenciled on. It looks like you've used text paper and colored it and applied them on, where you just used one little stencil and went from there. So hope this technique helps. Hope you love it. And as soon as I finish this journal page, I promise I'll share a picture on my blog. So make sure you head over to my blog, imperfectimpulses.wordpress.com. There's plenty more to come. I've always got something in my brain stewing around, and I like talking to everyone and figuring out what you guys are up to. And if you have a blog, make sure you add a comment and let me know what your blog is, and I'll be glad to check it out. And if I love it, I'll follow it. And see you soon. So like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. So see you soon. Bye.